Something a little different today. This is the ActionTec WCB3000N. What's so special about this? Well, if you notice, it has two Ethernet ports. That's special. No, it's not. It has two wireless APs in it, one at 2.4 and one at 5 gigahertz. That's special. No. It has a coaxial cable port. That's special. What is this? This is a MoCA adapter. I don't remember exactly what MoCA stands for. I believe it's multimedia over coaxial cable or something. Anyways, the whole point is this is an adapter that allows you to have an Ethernet connection over a coaxial cable. Well, why is that so wonderful? When I first moved into my current home, it was not wired for Ethernet, which was kind of annoying because at the time, Wi-Fi sucked. It was slow, the adapters were expensive, and it wasn't very reliable. My internet service at the time was over DSL. The DSL modem sat in the basement, and I like to have my vendor-supplied hardware, ISP-supplied hardware, as close to the DMARC as possible. The reason being, if there's ever a problem with your internet connection, the first thing they say is, well, can you please connect your modem to the point closest to where the line comes in the house? That for phone, POTS service is called the DMARC. For cable service, it's actually, well, it's a box right outside your home, but you don't have access to that, so you just connect it to the cable that comes right in the wall. Anyways, that's one of the reasons I've always had my DSL or cable modems, whatever I'm using at the particular moment, in the basement. Problem is, my office nook in this home is on the second floor, so I needed something that went up to the second floor. Now, what my house did have were cable lines going from the basement, a whole collection of them, to various rooms in the house. And I had heard that there was this technology available that allowed you to route a cable, to have an Ethernet connection over a cable. So I started researching, okay, where can I get an adapter that does that? And at the time, the answer was, don't bother. They're really slow, they don't work so well, they use a lot of power, and most important, they're really expensive, so I didn't do that. Instead, I got out the hammer drill, drilled some holes, ran some cables, and all was right in the world. Fast forward many years to today, where I found these on clearance at a regular store. What these are that they are meant for cable subscribers who want to share the cables in their home with an Ethernet connection, an internet connection. And these were generally supplied by providers for that purpose. The benefit of that is that nobody really does that anymore. Wi-Fi is really good and fast enough for most consumers. So these adapters have started getting really cheap. Now, there's two types of these sorts of devices. One is based on the DECA, D-E-C-A standard, and those are meant for satellite TV users to share the cable with an internet connection. These are MoCA adapters, which are meant for cable TV, so traditional cable TV users to share the internal wiring with an internet connection. I won't go into the technical details, but the point is they're not compatible with each other. If you're not using those cables for anything else, though, it doesn't matter which adapter you use. As long as both ends of the cable use the same standard adapter, you're fine. Now, I forgot what the spec on these are. I'll show a screenshot here. But they aren't the fastest thing in the world. They are not gigabit class. They're slower than that. But for many purposes, that's perfectly fine. And the benefit is you get a cable connection instead of a wireless connection for where you're going. So I thought I'd give them a try, show you what they look like, show you them working, and then show you how to hack them a little bit to do what you might want them to do. But as for the unit here, very simple. I'm holding it sideways because it won't fit if I hold it the other way. There's not really much to it. If you look at the back, you'll notice that it has a coaxial port, 2 Ethernet ports. I want to be clear, this is not a router. So if you plug this in to your, if you have a device connect to it, it will not serve a DHCP address. You have to manually set the IP, blah, blah. Makes it difficult. If you connect it to your network, it will actually pick up an address from your DHCP server. And that is about all there is to describe with this guy. It's a very simple device. I do like the fact it has 2 Ethernet ports, because it means if you have an Ethernet run coming up to wherever you're going, you do still have one extra port. This is just a switching port. There's nothing special about it being Ethernet 1 or Ethernet 2. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it also has wireless. Now, this is only an N-class device, but it is a 5 gigahertz capable device as well. It actually has 2 transceivers in it, one at 2.4, one at 5 gigahertz. They are treated completely separately, and you'll see that in a bit when I show you the web interface. Whether you need to have Wi-Fi or not where you're going is up to you. What is frustrating is, and this is where the hacking comes in, these guys officially, they came from a provider. I don't remember which one. We'll probably find out later. But the provider has disabled certain features, which is kind of frustrating. And especially in the wireless configuration, there are certain features with it which are just not available by default. You have to hack your way to get to them, like selecting wireless channel, I think they took out, and all kinds of stuff, which is kind of annoying. But the most annoying is they took out the ability to disable the wireless APs, which is kind of, I don't know, stupid. Personally, I think that's dumb. I can understand, I guess from a user perspective, they don't want the user messing around with it, but frankly, what they did leave enabled, you can easily mess with it. So what's the big deal? I don't know. Anyways, the point is, if you just want to use these as MoCA adapters, then you can disable these wireless APs, but you have to do it in a hacky sort of way. And I'll show you how to do that, which is fine. For the coaxial, for the MoCA network, they disabled the password facility for MoCA. So your network, technically, I'm not that familiar with MoCA, but I'm pretty sure, I bought 3 of these. They all connect with each other, no problem. There's no authentication needed on the MoCA side. So, you know, somebody theoretically could connect to your MoCA network. Is that a problem? I don't know. I guess it could be if somebody outside your home went to the cable demarc, plugged one of these guys in, they'd have access to your whole home network. I don't like that. That's no good. That's like kind of like leaving an Ethernet cable hanging out your window. It'd be pretty obvious they're doing something, but still. So I'll show you how to, in a hacky sort of way, enable the network password so that you can put a password on, and then these guys will only connect with each other with the right password. All right, let's get to getting this online. The first problem with this is, like I said, it's not a router. It picks, you may have noticed at the back, it does list an IP, or does it? Yeah. But they all have the same IP, so that's kind of useless. And if you plug it into your network, they don't use that IP. They pick up an IP from your DHCP router. So the way I get that address, the instructions are kind of stupid. They just say, oh, use the domain name. And like, well, depending on your network, that won't work. So I actually run NTOP on my network, so I see what the IPs of all my devices are. That's how I determine it. In your case, what you could do is log into your router that supplies DHCP and see what address was given to these guys, okay? But this is how I did it. So for my case, this is what these 2 devices, I have 2 of them right now hooked up, came to. All right, so let's get to the GUI. So now we have the IP, which is always the hard part. So let's give this a try. This is the main
setup screen for the ActionTec MoCA adapter. Like quite a bit of stuff, actually. It lists the wireless network is enabled. It lists all the devices it's seeing on the network. Neat. That's status. Under wireless setup, you can actually set up the two wireless networks that it pipes out. This is not a router. There's no DHCP server, I believe, which is why you need to connect it to your network to even connect to it. So this is our status. If you click on wireless setup, there are two APs that this device supports on the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz band. You can name them the same, you can name them different. These are the default settings. So it's not just a MoCA extender, it also is a wireless AP, which is very cool. What I don't like is there doesn't appear to be a way, or there isn't an obvious way to turn off these wireless access points, which from a security perspective isn't great. You might not want more wireless access points on your network. I can understand that. So, if you go into all these things and you look through and you try to find out how to turn it off, you can't, at least not officially. What is interesting is if you go into the source of the web page that it presents you, and you poke around here, what you'll find is that there is an option to disable. It's just not visible. So give me a sec to find it. I can't take credit for this. Somebody on a forum mentioned this. So it's the wireless band. So where is this? Right here. So you see this right here, this wireless radio. So I don't. Maybe I shouldn't have skipped. So on any web page in Chrome, Firefox has a similar functionality. If you right-click, you can go to Inspect. What that opens up is this developer console, I think it's called, which is very cool. You can see, all the stuff that's going on. This is used by web developers to develop web pages. But as users, what it allows you to do is what web developers can do, and that is change things on the fly. So in this case, we have some code, and it says display none, right, for this wireless radio. And if you look, there's no wireless radio option here. So what's neat about this developer console, if you double click on this, you can change it. You can change it to, I think, block. Let's see what happens. And all of a sudden, we have wireless radio enable or disable. So if I do that, and I think I can do it for the 5 gigahertz band too, where would that be? So very neat. As you scroll over, it highlights. So if you go over a little further, there's the 5 gigahertz band. So if you go down to the same area in the body, see this display none? I think actually if you just get rid of this as well, what happens? Let's find out. What happens if I just get rid of style? Will it, okay. Actually, that looks better. So don't set it to block, set it to none. And now you have the wireless radio there. So if you set those two to disable and hit apply, and I've tried this, it will actually disable the wireless APs. So that's a pretty cool little hack, if you want to call it that. We'll give it 15 seconds to reboot. And I can see that the wireless AP lights are off right now. So once the reboot is successful, okay, so we're back online, and this is what we're seeing. The two wireless AP lights are off. Notice also that those options are gone. So to get them back, we can just, if you're afraid that you broke something, don't worry about it. Well, I can't guarantee anything, but, if I bring back the 5 gigahertz radio, maybe you only want the 5 gigahertz radio on. So if you hit that, and it's going to say, wait 15 seconds again. And let's just wait those 15 seconds. And look, that's what we have. The 5 gigahertz light is back on. So that's a cool little hack that I love. So that's the wireless setup. The rest of the stuff is pretty basic, standard stuff here. Honestly, I don't know what some of this is, so whatever. It also has wireless access control. what this is that you can allow certain Macs to connect to the wireless interface to the APs. You can specify which AP. I personally, from a hacker perspective, this doesn't really stop anything. Like a hacker can get around this pretty easily. All they can do is look at who's connected to that AP, kick that person off, and use their Mac, and all of a sudden they can connect. So, it is a security step. I personally wouldn't bother. It's more work than it's worth because every new person, every new device, every new adapter, you need to add it to this list. Forget it. Waste of time. So yeah, that's for wireless. So let's go to MoCA next. All right. So what we have now is the two of these devices connected over coax. And you can see in this picture that the coax lights are on, or the LEDs are on. Now, I might not have mentioned it before. I really like the retro look. The LEDs look like those old style, whatever size they were. I think 5mm LEDs that you saw on all devices. I opened up one of these. They aren't that kind of LED. They're standard surface mount LEDs. They just have a light pipe to make it look retro-ish. I don't know. Anyways, so we'll get back to what we were working on here. So now that I've connected the coaxial cable, if you click on MoCA Setup, what you have now is you can set up various things about the coax network. Now, what's annoying here is you have all these features, but they're all disabled, which is interesting. So if you go in here again, you can see that the content here, it's all here, but I haven't actually tried to modify this. So I don't know what happens if I try to modify something here. So span, okay. I am not a web designer by any means, so I don't really, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here. Taboo bit. I wonder what that's for. I wonder what happens if I bring it back. Let's, will it let me edit that? Break on, I don't know what that means. Okay, anyways, if we look at channel, so the question is, why isn't it letting me change? See, it says disabled here. So I wonder what happens if I get rid of disabled. Bam, now it's enabled. So that's cool. You can actually change the range. I'm assuming they've disabled it because they don't want people mucking about with this. But what's annoying is they don't allow the password. So what I wonder is if I were to muck about with it, and where is that section of code actually? That's the controller. Wow, this is really rather obtuse code, which is not surprising. Network controller. Okay, we're not far enough down. It's this one here. Okay, so the highlighting tells us where to go, which is nice. So we want network password. Let's see. So we have password, yeah, disabled. So if we get rid of that, what happens? Bang! Now we can actually put stuff in there. I haven't tried that. I am going to try that eventually, but if you want to enable the password, you can do that. Before I do that, though, I wanted to show this view. And what this does is it shows, I should get rid of, what this does is shows you all of the devices on your MoCA network, which is very, very, very neat. In this case, I only have two devices. This is my main device, the one I'm connected to, and this is the one that I'm connected to over coax. And it shows, a bunch of stuff. I honestly, yeah, see, only advanced technical users should use this feature. All rates are in megabits per second. So it is actually showing a connection of 250 megabits per second. But remember, for this class of MoCA, actually that sounds out of range. I thought it was 150 was the max. Whatever. I'm not surprised that it's getting the max speed because it's just a small, I don't even know how long a run, probably 10 meters or something of coax. But it is showing full speed. So yeah, so we know that the other device is 157. So let's try to connect to that guy. And there's the second one. So we're now connected over coax. I forgot, is it just admin? Yeah. So here's the other side of the coax. Unsurprisingly, the interface looks identical, but it is a different device. So you can see we're on the other device. If I go to MoCA Setup and View, and here we go. So it's the same sort of thing, shows 250 megabit per second. Okay. What I want to try now is to enable the password. So 12 digits minimum, 14 digits max. Okay. Oh, and it does say status connected, which we get from the LEDs. So what I'm going to do is to enable that, because I want to find out if enabling the password actually works. And if I end up, breaking the link, who cares? So what I would expect is when I do this, so let's get rid of disabled. Boom, bang. And now let's put 10 digits in. So I'm going to put 12 digits. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. That's 10, 1, 2. That's 12. So you all know my password now. And I just realized there's no apply button. So they got me. Where is the apply button? It's probably at the bottom and it's probably disabled. Display none. Aha. So they're not going to stop me. There's the apply button. All right. So let's give that a go. Now what I expect is that the device will probably reboot. I'm not sure. What I am sure of is if this works, the coax light will go down. The coax light is out. So that worked. Fantastic. Now we got to do the same thing on the other side. So this is our first side. If you go to MoCA Setup, it shows disconnected now. Uh-oh, I wonder why. Let's go into the code, find that section. It was, where was it? There. Let's highlight this. These software designers, software engineers, they do know how to make good tools. Okay, so I've enabled that field. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2. And, we need the apply button. So get rid of this. Bang, there's the apply. And apply. So let's see what happens. The device has come back to us. And let's see if we get the MoCA connection. Eureka! It's on. Let's find out if we can connect to the second guy. I go to View. It does show my second device. Okay, so MoCA seems to be okay, except it doesn't show connected here, which is interesting. If I go to the second device, let's see what happens. Success! And this one shows connected. I don't know why the other doesn't. So we're good to go. So that's interesting. So there you go. I would recommend turning on the network password, because that way, who knows if somebody else, well, honestly, who else is going to be on your MoCA network? It's in your home, but more security isn't a bad idea, and enabling this is good. And we know it works because when I changed one and not the other, it didn't connect. So that's kind of cool. All right. That's about all I got right now. There's nothing else here. If you go to Advanced Setup, there is stuff. So, this is standard stuff, firmware restore. I don't know. I haven't. That's very cool. It has 2 firmware versions on it, which means if you burn a new firmware and it messes up for some reason, it will revert to the backup firmware and your device will still work. That's a very cool feature. Auto upgrade. Well, I guess we know where this device came from. CP Firmware Manager Time Warner cable. All right. I'm not going to click that because I don't want Time Warner mucking about with my device. And yeah, okay. So I wonder what happens if we go to that site. Let's find out. Does that site even work? Let's find out. Ooh, can't be reached. So either that site is down, or maybe it only allows connections from these devices. I don't know. This is what happens when you just click on buttons. That's all I got. So I truly recommend these devices. They're fantastic. I purchased them at a ridiculously low price. They were $10 each. They do not replace a gigabit Ethernet connection. They are not that fast, but for what they are, if you just want internet in a room, Wireless is not the solution you want. I can fully understand that a wired connection is always more reliable than a wireless one. And you don't need gigabit speed. So if your internet connection is less than 100 megabit per second, this is perfectly fine, right? A gigabit connection won't help you there. If you are transferring files, on the other hand, to a file server, say gigabyte video files, then this might not be right, and you might want to invest in actually running a gigabit Ethernet cable. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them, or as much as I can. Interesting. It says MoCA privacy disabled. Interesting. It says enabled. Oh, it does say disabled. I don't know what that means. I should look that up. Anyways, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Until next time.